The timing is superb, Cameron. Look.
Glad I ran.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Heusinkveld Peregrine race here live from the Mac in Maastricht at this wonderful Sunday afternoon by now. Live action from the Netherlands when it comes to sim racing here at the Sim Formula Europe powered by NextView. I'm once again joined by Cameron Rogers. My name is René Butler, bringing you the entire action live right from the coolest stage ever, because it's even two-story. You can't see that, but we can, and it looks quite cool, Cameron, right?
Absolutely, loads of room for people to see the racing today. We're really excited because there's a massive range of driving talent here as well, so we're giving the opportunity for some of these drivers to maybe get in the rig for the first time and have a high-level competition.
Yeah, we should maybe explain that real quick, what's happening today, because yesterday we had the big final of Sim Formula Europe, which was already complicated in format, but hey, we might be able to up that here. So we got a 30-minute race with 8 races in total? No, it's more than that. It's 10 actually.
10 cars.
10 racers, 10 cars. And some of them are here. Some of them will race from home. Why? Because there was a competition last year already, which unfortunately didn't happen due to circumstances, and they're racing today, and some qualified on site here at the event. So it was open to everyone. If you would have been here, then that might have been your shot at being on stage and race. And they will race also a different car to yesterday, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got the Orica LMP2 this time, so a slightly slower car than the Senna we saw yesterday, but still high downforce, loads of power, well over 300 in the straights.
Look at the sim world, LMP2, slightly slower car. It's like normally not really a slow car, is it?
It's about 6 seconds or so for some of these drivers, so it's actually not too bad compared to the Senna, so it's going to be really exciting to see these drivers because a fast car always makes some pretty crazy racing, especially around the streets of Maastricht.
And the second part of this entire, it's not just a race, there's more to it, because all of our races today will have liveries from the Heusinkveld Livery Design Contest 2023. That meant we brought in the livery creators. There are a ton of them out there. Shout out to all of them. They do great work for all the sim racing teams, for all the drivers out there to let sim racing look as cool as it does. So they created liveries for voting, and they can win something as well. They actually win a Heusinkveld Sim Pedal Sprint set for themselves in the vote. If you want to get involved in that, you see the liveries here. We will obviously show you all of them. Then head over to our socials, get your vote in until next Sunday. So it's not like you need to be in a hurry. You can first watch our 30-minute race, and then you can head over to Facebook or Instagram and get your vote counted.
Yeah, and here they are on the screen. Here are the wonderful creations that the multiple livery designers have made, and it's pretty cool because this is like a subcategory of sim racing and esports. Now there's so many competitions. Every team needs a livery designer. So the fact that there's multiple designers here, some of them you'll recognize, I'm sure. They can obviously market themselves and make a little company out of livery designs.
Did you already pick your? I have a clear favorite. Do you have one?
Oh, I need to have a look. I do quite like the purple, like a subtle purple on the bottom right there, but the white one as well on that right. But what's yours?
I first wanted to go for top right, but it looked a bit too close to Team Redline for my liking. Not that I don't like Team Redline. So I went for the second row from down low, left car, the white, blue, red.
Yeah, that is
nice. I
nice.
think that's great detail, also like the feathers are in there in the design, but it just shows that there are people out there spending way more time on liveries than they actually do in the rig, and they love that, and they deserve a shout out as well. It's not only about the drivers, it's also about everyone from broadcast to liveries to developers, whatever, creating the world that we live in with sim racing.
Absolutely, sim racing is not just about the drivers that you're going to be seeing today. We've got a whole production crew here, we've got all the cameras, we've got race directors to the right of us over here, and it's just an amazing production. So it's not just the driving, it's everything that comes with that.
Yes, so don't blame us for any penalties, it's people over there. So if you want to complain about that one. Looking at the drivers that we had, so it was 5 people that qualified today here at SimFormula Europe. We have 6 people here because one of the qualifiers from online from last year, he actually traveled to the event, so we obviously put him in a rig. We had enough rigs, so he's racing here. The rest of 4 drivers, they will race from home. Do you think it's a difference now, because everyone from home, they can race in their own rig and what they're known to, and probably less pressure. Everyone else here has great equipment on their hand, but it's not theirs, and they have a crowd behind them.
Yeah, certainly a bit more pressure here. When you're at home in your own personal setup, your rig, you can have everything exactly how you want it, and you can have all the settings perfect, whereas here, they haven't had as much time to get set up for that.
Talking about getting set up, we're also getting set up for the race. There is Andre, he got the pole position in the qualifying that just happened a few minutes ago. Mattia Kruppi on second with the livery I would pick. There we go. Turkka Häkkinen, a name that we know from the R-Factor Pro Series, for example, in there at third that was. And we already jumped to Pastore here in 5th.
Absolutely. Rick Van Al there in 6th with Sven Schumacher in 7th, and then missed that one in 8th, but Bursma is in 9th, and Bombaz is in 10th place as well. So 10 drivers on the grid. You can look at all the liveries there and decide your favorite, then get on the socials, and you just have to simply like the pictures to register your vote. Yeah,
we're slower than the grid. You saw that there. And the cars are also quite quick while we're standing here. This track is actually mastered. I went there by Cap yesterday. He didn't took the same line into the corkscrew. I was quite disappointed, but it's great that we have the same race here as the lights go red and now go green on the first Heusinkveld Peregrine competition that we have here this year, 2023, and it seems like Andre can actually stay in the lead. He's flashing his lights already, celebrating a great start to the race.
Yeah, nice aggressive starts there. We're going 2 by 2, 3 rows deep down towards turn number 1 as they start to fan out, but it gets really tight here in turn number 1. So Häkkinen maybe diving out the inside, and also one of the orange cars down the inside. Contact made between the two.
We saw that yesterday. Going 3 wide into the tunnel isn't a great idea. Easily flips your car, but it seems like everyone so far survived. And Turkka Häkkinen still in third, where we see Kupri right on the tail of Andre right now, kind of part of his own diffuser there of the LMP in front. It's an Orica LMP2 that we're racing today. Now we got that slipstream in this long, long tunnel. You want to wait until the very end to dive into that corner side by side. Can Kupri make it work?
Yeah, this is very close between these drivers, and you will see the slipstream will be a big factor around here. There's so many long straights, but then what we saw in yesterday's race, we saw that the final sectors where the main corners are, oh, that's too wide though, diving it down the inside. Andre is potentially going to be losing the race.
Yeah, that was a bit unfortunate. There's over-rotating the rear, and it can happen so quickly because you're coming from a high-speed section with all the aerodynamics working your way into a very tight corner, and seems like Kupri will take the lead here. Still on the first lap, can Darius Andre come back? One of the races that we have here in Maastricht today. They're still side by side, and Turkka Häkkinen is joining them.
He certainly is side by side in towards the braking zone. That is all massive squeeze into the wall that Häkkinen doesn't manage to make it through. Andre keeps in the lead, but he's definitely squeezing to the left-hand side of this corkscrew section. Amazing parts, but Andre is certainly showing his aggressive side right now.
Yeah, Andre really lucky here coming across the line as the leader still in that race, but Kupri very aggressive. Turkka Häkkinen, I think he right now just observes this. It's a 30-minute race. He has a bit of time. He can watch out for a good opportunity to get his car through, because what you don't want to is spin around here. There's no space for you to reverse the car and get it into the right direction again, so better stay up ahead from everything.
Yeah, it's just public streets with the Armco barriers and all the sponsor boards on the outside as well, so yeah, you definitely don't want to be making any mistakes around here. We saw that with Tom Oldemanger yesterday, making a crucial mistake from the lead. Obviously ends up finishing last in that race. So Andre, as we come around to finish the first corner, 30-minute race, and we obviously have just under 28 minutes still to go, so hopefully the drivers will take into account the fact they're going to have to look after the tyres slightly. They're going to have to look at their fuel consumption to make sure they're getting to the end of the race.
Yeah, we saw them being very aggressive on the first lap, which created already this little gap between, I would say, the top 4, kind of Tokarev. That's where it stops then, and then Schumacher and Pastore right behind. Sven Schumacher, who had a good start it seems, because I think he started in 6th or 7th even, so he moved up 1 position. Great shot here. Everyone fully concentrated in the race. Oh, Sven Schumacher with a slight slip there and touching the wall on the left, but now he gives that slipstream for so long. I mean, that straight, it goes on for ages.
Oh, a bit of contact between the two there as they try and work their way up towards this tunnel. Schumacher there getting a bit of contact on his rear end as Tap gives him a tap that part of the race, and let's see how this one works all the way up. This back straight is actually Pistoria mistaken courtesy pass up in towards 5th place.
Yeah, he should probably have lifted a bit earlier, trying to slot into the slipstream again instead of being side by side and then trying to go back at Pistoria. Now he lost a bit of time. It's near half a second already just from that little mistake he did. And that seems how crucial it is to be consistent every single lap, because there's no runoff here. There's walls left and right. That's it.
Yeah, it's not a place where you can make mistakes. It's very narrow. That you can see it's literally just 2 lanes wide around here. You don't have room to make corrections. So when you go into the corner, you have to make sure your braking is absolutely correct, to make sure your downshifting is correct, to not make the car too unsettled.
Since we're now looking at Sven Schumacher the entire time, let's quickly check who actually did this livery. That should be Adrian Blasco. My list is correct. A name that I definitely know from the R-Factor 2 world. Beautiful yellow livery. Yellow, one of the cars I would say that we don't even see that often on sim racing liveries.
Yeah, a lot of sim racing liveries, they're either based off white or black. Those sorts of colours, and maybe get some reds in there as well. But as you say, the big fancy colours like your oranges, your yellows, you don't often see them. For some reason, some of the liveries.
I mean, I can tell you probably where it comes from. So most of the base race cars in real life that you buy, you get them delivered in white. All the ones I got, they all came in white. So you always go from a livery where you don't have to change the entire car if you're not a millionaire in F1. Right, so since they base that kinda on what they know from real life, there's a lot of white normally in there. But it's cool to see more colors here. Darius Andre, he has a livery done by, I should not start that sentence when I didn't look it up yet. Gino Gellner, we met him yesterday actually. He was here at the Symphomia Europe, and his livery is leading. I think he can be quite happy with that. Someone went into the pits. Why?
I think that's Rick Van O there in the 10th place. He's definitely an experienced driver with this car. It's won the Virtual Endurance Championship in this specific car, and that's a very high-level championship. So just maybe not the race that he would have wanted. He obviously got some damage here on the first lap and had to make some repairs.
Yeah, if you have to do that, you see that you drop down by a lap already, which is very hard to come back at. This is not a virtual Le Mans 24 hours where we have time to get back on one lap, but we'll see what still works for him. Vlad Tokarev still in 4th behind Turkka Häkkinen, and I have to admit, I'm a bit surprised that Turkka Häkkinen didn't have a go yet at Kruppi. Like, I saw him on the R-Factor 2 Pro Series, and he is a great driver, and he's a very aggressive one.
Yeah, they certainly are. He's one of those drivers who, yeah, as you say, he's very decisive with his moves, very aggressive with his moves, and to be honest, he's only just struggling a little bit. He's a second behind Kruppi as well. And interestingly, the top 4 in the race are the 4 online drivers that we've got as well. So maybe that has come to be a benefit like we were imagining.
Yeah, it obviously helps a bit if you're at home, but I can tell you from my own experience with events, it is way cooler having a memory of doing the event here than doing it at home. Completely different feeling, way cooler. You can bring your friends, you can bring your family, enjoy the event the entire day, and get to race with these cool Rouge Rixon Simagic steering wheel that we just have in the shot here as we look at Jean-Paul going up the straight. Hugo Tap in 7th right now. Not a great race for him so far, but with 23 minutes still to go, a lot can happen.
Yeah, and he's certainly got Buzma right behind him as well, so that could potentially be a battle for that 7th place a little bit later on. And we were sort of helping a couple of these drivers sort of in the practice in the qualifying earlier. Some of these drivers haven't even raced R-Factor 2 before, so to come into a pretty high-level competition, the top 4 there, Andrew Kruppi, Häkkinen and Tokarev, they are all very experienced in this type of competition.
Yeah, definitely. It's drivers that we know of that did several events, online events mostly, as obviously there are not that many sim racing offline events just yet. Another over-the-shoulder shot. I just love that. It's so cool that we can see the drivers really working their magic in the rig, because it isn't easy. None of this, no matter how the track looks like to you, it's not easy at all.
Yeah, I mean, some of these drivers, they're coming in and their first laps were 10-15 seconds off the pace, and of course they've got a lot closer, but to get that initial step, obviously once you get to the final second, that's very difficult, but to get those first 10-20 seconds away, there's definitely a big learning curve, and it comes pretty quickly. But yeah, certainly, as you say, he's was that 2 minutes 26, the fast lap of the race of 2:18, so 6 seconds off the pace.
The sock game is strong with this one. Hugo Tap showing off his sock. Luckily, no holes in it. Just imagine now, he would sit there and he forgot to get a new pair of socks on for today. That would have been sad.
Yeah, some of these drivers, of course, are using their shoes as well, but the sock seems to be pretty popular around here. It's, you have a lot more feel on the pedals, you have a lot more, I guess, control over it. When you've got the shoes and the thick soles, you sort of forget where the pedals are a little bit.
I prefer shoes by now. I did socks all the years over from starting in sim racing, and then went over to shoes as soon as we got pedals that feel so harsh that I always think I should go to the gym more. So the shoes dampen it a bit for me.
Yeah, is that also from your racing experiences? Do you wear the race boots, like
yeah, the same boots that I would do in real life. Yeah.
Yeah, that's certainly, as you see here, perfectly timed by the producer. You see there's some lovely Sparko shoes there having a bit more feel. You see they're really thin soled as well, so you get the feel on the pedals and you have so much more control.
I like that even the socks have the right color for these shoes. Someone that really went into the fashion hard here to make it work for today's event. Turkka Häkkinen, 1.9 seconds by now, so he's losing out a bit. It's not that he's waiting or managing while we see Bursma now with the DNF there. What happened? That should be the driver in rig number, what is it, 6? Is that correct? Over there, what happened? Can we have that maybe as a replay? That's Bursma coming around the left-hander. Oh, that was a wall in the way, and the end of the race. That's how quickly it can go. Yeah,
that's such a fast corner, and you have to turn while braking. It's very difficult as we get Andre hitting the wall there next to the final corner. So multiple drivers tapping the walls, but unfortunately for Bursma, that is going to be him out of the race with that DNF.
We saw that several times now when we go on board or like closer to the cars. Some of these corners, you want to be close to the wall, but then they have an edge coming out because this is street circus. This is really, it's a replication of Maastricht. As I said already yesterday, we drove there with a cab. It was quite funny. So it is a real world city turned into a racetrack for R Factor 2. And obviously it has these edges. So sometimes you think like, oh, I'm right next to the wall. That's great. Then there comes an edge and your car's done.
Yeah, you got to be looking out, yeah, as you say, like for the end of some of these barriers, because if you hit it and it's a straight on head-on collision, then obviously the car's just going to be stopping. And damage is quite a big thing in these cars, and I believe also all the assists are off for these drivers, so they're really fighting with the car. And yeah, any little mistake you go into the wall, your race is going to be over, as we just saw. And also Van Earl joins the DNF list already a lap down.
It seems like Krupi is creeping closer to Darius Andre, if I see that correctly. Turkka Häkkinen, though, he is losing out 2.5 seconds by now. That must have been a mistake there by him. I don't think he can drop another second per lap, not with his usual pace. But Mattia Krupi now, he can see Darius Andre, and he can see, as a driver, you feel the slipstream. Like you see it with your eyes, even if it's not there yet, but you can see it behind the car. That's where I want to be. I want to be in that slot deep into the roundabout basically that we have here, really tight around. This is for me, I said that yesterday already, the real corkscrew. Forget about Laguna Seca, it's Maastricht corkscrew, that's where it's at.
Yeah, and that is also a physical corkscrew as well. It's literally, I worked out before, it's like 500 and something degrees of turning in the same direction. It's very difficult. You see Andre just sliding the rear a little bit, trying to get the rear end to come round, and there's certainly a difficult corner to master because you that's the type of corner where you can lose a lot of time if you take it too conservatively. Something I've just noticed actually on Krupi's car, if you look on the front on the headlights, it's got like eyebrows on the headlights. You see, that's obviously the livery designer. I think that was Nico Barkley, was it, who did that one. He certainly had a bit of fun making it.
Yeah, it's a great livery. It looks really, really good. That's one of the edges I was talking about. Like, if you don't know about that one, you need to come around really closely. Then things can go south really quick. But we still have the top 4 altogether. Krupi, though, with a slightly slower lap this time around. He was down to 0.7 of a second, now up to 1.4. It's not really what he was looking for while we approach the last 18 minutes of the race. But we talked about that. Like, you want to let the rear, like here, you rotate it a bit to have less steering input so the car has more momentum coming out of the corner, but you also need to work this set of tires because you can't pit in these 30 minutes. So the rubber still needs to work for you in the end while we have the next DNF.
We certainly do. Tap has gone out of the race. We're down to what's that, 7 drivers left in this race, which is a bit of a shame, but it's not easy coming into these races. As we said, some of these drivers not having the most experience, but certainly a bit of shame for those guys. But all those 3 drivers at DNF actually, they're here, so at least they've had the opportunity to come and race at a sim racing event.
Yeah, it definitely felt good to be here and qualify for that. Obviously, Darius Henry quite sideways, I have to say, in the previous corner already. So does he already lose a bit of grip there on the rear axle due to what he did earlier in the race? We will soon find out if it's still good enough. Now you could jump in the rig and just join that competition real quick, and then we do a driver swap halfway through, see if we can go along. I think we might embarrass ourselves though, so better not to do that.
Yeah, it's certainly, obviously, you and me, drivers are ourselves, but today in the commentary booth, and it would certainly be, as we see there, there's Hugo Tap, the driver just DNFing, looking a little bit upset, as you would be, but that's part of racing, unfortunately.
He's actually upset, I think, due to the headset pressing a bit on the hair. Like, he did a lot of work this morning with that hair, and now all the headset is destroying it, but it looked like a good performance in the race until now. Unfortunately, it is a DNF now, and which leads us with the last 7 here in the Heusinkveld Peregrine race that we have. 30 minutes of racing in Maastricht while being in Maastricht. I think that's a very cool thing to highlight every now and then. And Darius Andre still in control of the race. I like how he manages the pace. He doesn't look like, from obviously it might be different for him as a driver, for us looking at it, it doesn't look too stressed. He's not pushing.
Yeah, he's a very experienced driver with this car as well, so he should know exactly what to do with it and just keep it nice and controlled. And is this going to be an unfortunate replay? Oh, look at that four-wheel sliding.
Yes, like normally you try to rotate a bit around your front tires, not with the front tires. The four-wheel drift, like this would be an all-wheel drive car, kinda. Getting it out of the way, that was Krupi losing a few more tenths to the leader. And with that, he gets Turkka Häkkinen creeping closer and closer.
And for this car, obviously a half-an-hour race, the fuel tank on this car only goes about 35 minutes or so anyway, so they have to do a pretty long stint, and the soft tyres that most of the drivers are using, they only really go one stint sometimes, so the tyres are going to be pretty worn by the time we get to the end. And Kruger, their four-wheel sliding, as you say, he's going to be just absolutely burning up those tyres.
Also interesting to note, when we look at the car from Turkka Häkkinen, there's no damage front left, front right. We see here the wheel arches, basically. While we were on board with Krupi, I think he had damage left front, and aerodynamic damage on such a track. There's so much high-speed sections that really hurts.
Yeah, they'll be losing a little bit of stability, but also just a little bit of top speed as well, which is not too good around here because, of course, there's some tricky corners, but there's just these massively long straights as we come on once again, and that makes it a little bit harder to overtake because there is slipstream, but it's certainly not overpowered in this car. It's pretty modest.
I think Krupi, the last laps around, was the more aggressive driver, so really the question is, if his tyres are worn now, can Turkka Häkkinen close that gap before we at the end of the race, and could even Tokarev join them? Because we see now there's a huge gap between top four and then Pastore, Schumacher and Bobies a bit further down the track. But if Krupi can't catch up to Darius Andre, then definitely Turkka Häkkinen wants to have a go at it.
Yes, that is turning into a bit of a three-way battle, it seems, as Tokarev just gets dropped from that P4 battle. But Häkkinen definitely getting that a little bit closer. If Krupi starts overheating those tyres, it's sort of a snowball effect because you can't always then cool them down at the same rate, so it just snowballs, gets hotter and hotter and hotter, and then before you know it, in 2 laps' time, you're sliding all over the place.
Darius Andre will obviously be happy if after 40 minutes that are still on the clock, he would still be leading, because that gets him, as we saw already, Heusinkveld Simpel Sprint setup plus the new handbrake.
Absolutely. Handbrake is awesome. I know obviously in this style of race you're not necessarily going to be using, but drifting is actually becoming quite a big thing. And also rally as well. So those two parts of sim racing, it's not just about formulas and prototypes like we've seen recently, but those other forms of sim racing is a big part of it as well.
Yeah, in sim racing we can have everything. You can have an LMP race right now here, 30 minutes, and afterwards you do a bit of Corsica rally in a Peugeot 206, and if that's not enough, you can end your day with Formula One, right? That's the cool thing about sim racing.
And all from the same rig. You don't have to travel anywhere in the world. You have to buy a new car. You just have to go in the sim and then start playing it, which is why it's quite an inclusive and fair playing field for racing in general, but also just the fun side of it as well. You don't have to come into just competitive racing. You can do it for fun on the side.
Yeah, and by now, it's always funny, I see here the Anarch competition gloves right next to us, sim racing gloves, obviously a thing. Now, back in the days, we still use these like biking gloves or get like racing gloves, but then you pay a lot of money for the FIA fire safe ones, which you normally don't need in a rig, although looking at how sophisticated we get by now, who knows?
Yeah, hopefully hopefully not, but some of these, the wheelbases and the motors to give the drivers the force feedback in the steering, that is actually quite strong nowadays, and there's quite a few that get quite hot, so as you would probably hear from some manufacturers, there's a lot of fans and cooling that goes on in those motors.
Yeah, let's hope we will never have to fight with actual fire at a rig. That would not be great, because sim racing is a ton safer, and I can tell you a ton cheaper still than real racing. Since it's already no traveling, you don't need any hotels, and you do not pay several thousand euros to the organizer to be part of it. So that helps a bit to get into it. Sven Schumacher still on 6th here. Not getting that close to Pastori. After that mistake he did, I think he picked up damage, because there must be a reason why his pace dropped so far off.
Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one. We were expecting him to get a little bit further up from that position, but sometimes maybe just getting a bit of a bad rhythm or start having a couple of mistakes here and there that we've not seen on the camera, then of course that can quickly add up, and when you get to 10-20 seconds, it's difficult to come back from that.
Yeah, as soon as you drop out of that slipstream, we talked about that yesterday, it's a bit like the DRS window for Formula 1 cars, right? And if people are more used to Formula 1, you want to be in it to actually have the chance to come back. Same here, as soon as you're out of that slipstream and you can't really go the pace, because if you have the slipstream, you can even be like 0.4 of a second on your best lap of pace. You will still make it back on every single straight. But yeah, as soon as you're out of the slipstream, that's done and dusted.
And it's also sometimes the motivation factor. If you can still see the car ahead of you, that gives you that little bit of extra motivation to brake that a little bit later, take a bit more speed into the corners. But if you, on the flip side of that, if you don't see the driver ahead of you, it can be a little bit demotivating. So that's one part they've obviously got to get around, is keeping yourself self-motivated to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, Krupi still sees Darius Andre. I'm pretty sure about that, with 1.5 seconds off. Turka Hakkinen still looking at a bit of over a second to get closer to that. That is the view of Mattia Krupi right now, one of the online racers here. And he has 10 minutes to find a strategy and a new line, hopefully, to get back into that slipstream and then launch an attack at the end of the race. Although, as I said already, I think Andre managed his tires a lot better, at least from what we could see.
Yeah, Krupa was definitely more aggressive than that sort of first half of the race that we were seeing. But as it comes to the end of the race, that's when we're really going to find out as well. Because by that point, the tyres will be getting very close to what you'd normally pit. As I mentioned, normally in endurance racing, you'd single stint this compound of tyre. So by the end of it, it is going to be struggling. But Krupa's actually stayed fairly consistent the last lap or so. So he's not completely out of it, but Andre's comfortable at this moment in time.
Yeah, definitely is. He can manage the gap, so if necessary, you can lift off a bit. But then the problem is, and that's something we have to talk about the entire mind game, as soon as you are not trying to get your best lap time in, you tend to relax a bit too much, and then all of a sudden you can't hit the brake point anymore, you crash into the wall, race is done.
Yeah, you got to keep concentrating. That's a good point. You can't relax too much, because if you I
have to say, we have to change the camera. I look fat in that one. Can we have another camera? I looked fat in that one. I saw that. That's not okay. Change the object or something.
Yeah, we can blame the other Rene for the camera.
That's not okay, man. Come on.
On that one. Oh, he gets you again. Don't want to be getting that angle.
I fixed it. No problem.
But as you see, this was obviously what you're seeing now on the picture was, of course, all the rigs. Here we do have 8 of these rigs, and they're all exactly the same. So these drivers have had the ability here to adjust slight things, but for the most part, they've got the same pedals, the same wheel, the same screens, and those 3 things are pretty important with your performance level and being comfortable with that.
Yeah, definitely it is. Every single pedal set out there feels different. There's a bit of back pressure, then how quick does the pedal actually return to you, right, which is very important in these sections where you come off the brake, go back onto the throttle, stabilize the car. You need to know exactly when you have that power available onto the rear tires to not light them up and then spin out of the race. Krupi now, he dropped a tiny bit. 1.4 it was on the previous one, up to 1.7 in between. While I say that, goes up and down again. I love that. That's the problem with real-time live timing. You say something and then the live timing immediately proves you're wrong. but it stays the same. So the real question is, can he still find a few tenths, or will Turkka Häkkinen find them first?
Yeah, and the reason why they've stayed this close together is because they're just so consistent and they're so similar on pace. So, to be honest, if Häkkinen was in the lead right now, he'd probably be able to hold on to it. But obviously with the qualifying, that's where he just struggled with that a little bit and is behind him. You have to overcome that in the race, which is a slightly different skill to the style of driving in qualifying. But certainly Häkkinen, he does have a bit of a chance here. He's getting closer and closer to Krupi, but as it stands, Krupi hasn't made like another big mistake to help that even more.
Yeah, Turkka Häkkinen now needs a bit of like an afterburner basically to close that gap and really have a shot at second position. With Krupi there being, I think, comfortable. That's what we can say, right? He's not sliding too much, but he tends to look more aggressive than Darius Andre up there in the lead. But so far, the distance is always kind of the same under braking. That's where Turkka Häkkinen maybe can play it out. I saw him in the R2 Pro Series be really late on some of the corners in the brakes, so he has that ability to sometimes find like another 2% in the brakes by being very, very risky.
Yeah, and this car is actually quite critical for the braking and the corner entry part. Some cars are all about the exit, but this car, I find, is a lot about the entry. It can be a little bit twitchy, just naturally with how it's designed. So you have to have the control of the steering wheel and the pedals.
But he's there now. Look at that. He's a lot closer to Krupi this time around, going into the tunnel. That could be close enough to at least close the gap. Might not making it launch just yet, trying to not attack, because you also don't want to be too early now. If it goes wrong, you drop too far down, and if it just works out and you can't really run away, there might be a chance for Krupi to do the same on you on the last lap in slipstream.
Yeah, so maybe that is the dog and bone thing, and maybe he wants to be, I should say, overtaken on that final lap, but he's getting very close now. Yeah. So I wonder if he's going to do a massive lunge here, maybe come both have a bit of a wiggle there into the barrier, and you already see as well in the graphic of the tyres, some wear is starting to come in. That'll make them struggle, but I think down this straight, Häkkinen's going to be getting even closer.
That exit didn't look too good. Look at that. It's like the gap is becoming a bit bigger and bigger. I think Matti Krupi was really lucky there. Good launch. You said it both kind of touched the wall coming out of the left-hander, but it seems like it was not enough to destroy Krupi's pace right now, or the steal momentum once again down that hard braking zone. And really, you need to decide, do you come from the outside to carry momentum down low, or do you try to make it a shorter way for your car, stick to the inside curb there? But if you go too much on the curb, there is the chance of the car slipping down from that curb and then rotating too much.
You absolutely don't want to be touching some of these curves. I mean, most around here, most of it is just obviously the barriers, but in the corners where there are the curbs, it can unsettle the car. As you say, just sort of puts too much load onto the tyre, changes the weight distribution, weight balance, and that is really a type of style of driving that you need to perfect. Specifically in these corners here where you've got those curves on the inside.
Yeah, Darius Andre, he is running away by now, up to 2 seconds off the gap to second position, so he's really in control of this race. But Matti Krupi is not safe yet with second position, as we see Turkka Häkkinen just trying to prepare for attack. Good exit there. He's now in the slipstream up to the kind of the Autobahn section again that we have here, a bit like the old Norris ring or Avus, a circle over in Germany. But it's not enough to launch it into the tunnel just yet, but you want to be at the entry of the tunnel. That is the distance you need kind of to get into striking distance.
Yeah, let's see if he can get a good exit out of this first corner. Bit of a lock up there by Krupi as well, and a bit of wiggles on the apex, and Häkkinen's actually in quite a good distance, but it looks like maybe not quite enough to get the slipstream just yet, but if he can have a really good couple of corners on these next left-handers down the next back straight, he should be able to get a bit of a run, but as you see, the slipstream's not quite there.
Does he have damage maybe on the car? The slipstream's not that strong for him, because normally, looking at the distance, I would expect him to close that gap easily on that straight.
Yeah, I guess one potential is an open setup, so the drivers can change the car setup for this. It's Krupi goes wide there once again, and maybe something to do with the ride heights is just a couple of Ks different on the straight line.
Definitely something that you always have to keep in mind with these competitional races in general, right? There's so much work that also goes into setting up the car for your driving style, for the track, and sometimes even for your opponent. If you know they have a car that is really, really strong on the straight, how do you go up against that? Well, how do you want to set up your car? Do you want to get closer to that, or do you play to the strengths of your driving style and your car and rather be quicker in the corners?
Yeah, always Hakkinen there, a little bit of a wiggle, trying to get in the mirrors of the car ahead of him, but Krupi doing a good job to hold on, but he is now in the danger zone because he's now got the pressure. Hakkinen is on him. Krupi, every corner is going to be looking in his mirrors, and when you do that, you can always make a mistake and miss your braking points.
And we definitely saw once again more rotation by Krupi there on the rear tires, so he's using more of the rubber that he has available. Hopefully there's still enough left for the last 2 minutes and roughly 40 seconds as Darius Andre looks towards winning this Heusinkveld Peregrine race here live from Mac in Maastricht. Sim Formula Europe powered by NextView. And that was just nice timing with the logo there on the left side. In real life, that isn't there. So if you're out there now hunting for that, not yet. Maybe next year, who knows. Turkka Häkkinen quite close to Krupi right now. Krupi once again with a mistake. So up the hill they go once again. But Häkkinen now really, really close. This should be enough. There must be power in that Orica LMP2 to maybe make a move. But if he does it now, he gives that slipstream, and we know the entrance to the tunnel. That is really, really small there, but side by side they are. Turkka Häkkinen will go alongside before the braking zone. Can he make it stick around the outside though? No, he has to throw in the brakes a bit earlier. Tries to get a good run now, but the fight is on.
Yeah, but what he did there was really good because it slowed Krupi up in the corner, so he must be able to get a run here. He's definitely in the slipstream now. Is Turkka Häkkinen going for this second place as it stands? His fighting has let Andre go off up towards the front, but they don't care about that right now. Häkkinen's trying to get to the wall turn to the inside of the kink. So close between the two, almost contact. Krupi's going to have to hold it all the way around the outside of this kink. Can Häkkinen keep it? Looks like he's just about managed to do that. Krupi goes down into third place, and look, still side by side actually as we come into the left-handers.
Yeah, slight contact there for the long left-hander, and we saw yesterday Risto Capit who made it work on the outside, but Turkka Häkkinen, bit of contact with the wall, hopefully not picking up too much damage, but these two are now going at each other the entire time. Backstretch once again, slipstream for Turkka.
And now they're 3.5 seconds off Andre, so that just shows you how much battling slows you down. But as you say, Häkkinen in the slipstream once again. Is Krupi going to go inside? Yes, he is all the way around the outside. It'll have to be for Häkkinen in this corkscrew sequence. We've seen that before. Häkkinen now going towards the outside. Out braking is going to be very difficult here. Does he have the momentum side by side between the two? Just on the outside, he's managed to make it stick, but Krupi, they both slide into the barriers.
Yeah, I think we see that here, like the difference in grip they had available in the first laps and the grip level they have now. But Turkka Häkkinen still around the outside, touching the wall once again. Quickly Krupi onto Krupi, a small touch on the rear there, but it seems like Krupi can hold on to second place, at least for now. Last 24 seconds by now. Turkka Häkkinen is running out of time. If he wants to make something, it has to happen very, very early.
Yeah, just 3-4 corners to go in this race. Looks like it's going to be the final lap. Häkkinen now to the outside, very fast left-handed corner coming up. Krupi on the inside just about holds on to it, and just a few more corners he'll need. Häkkinen though dives into the inside, trying to make Krupi make a mistake.
Yeah, there was no way. You can't really cut the inside corner there due to the wall being right next to the curb. I think that's it for Turkka Häkkinen. There's no chance anymore for him to close that off. But it's Darius Andre here, our online driver, that will cross the line as the winner of the Heusinkveld Peregrine race here live at the Sim Formula Europe 2023. For him, that will be the sim panel setup, and second will be Krupi after defending heavily against Turkka Häkkinen to close off our podium.
And look who caught up in the end, Tokarev as well, in that fourth place. Look at this contact on the replay. This was obviously on that final lap. They didn't want to give each other any centimeters of room at all.
Oh, that was a bit unfortunate. I'm not quite sure if it was Krupi here just missing the grip on the inside to make the car stick, or if he just really thought he can close the door, because Turkka Häkkinen was still there. There was no way of making that work for anyone. Luckily, none of them spun around.
Yeah, luckily not. The barrier actually helped them. On a normal track it would be the grass, and they probably would have spun. So the barrier actually kept him in a straight line. But certainly a great battle between those drivers. A little bit, sort of argy-bargy at the end. Well, of course, they're fighting for some nice prizes. But it was Darius Andre who came out on top.
Yeah, absolutely lovely performance by Darius Andre. As I said, very consistent across our 30 minutes, 13 laps in total. He will claim victorious here at our race. Mattia Krupi in second, then was Turkka Häkkinen in third. Vlad Tokarev, he came close as said in the end, but there wasn't enough time to join this battle for second position. Giuseppe Pastore in fifth, then Sven Schumacher in sixth, and our three DNFs, Hugo Tapp, Rick van Erle, and Jean-Paul Boersma, unfortunately retired early.
Yeah, a bit of a shame for those drivers, because we end up with 7 drivers. We do actually have one still finishing his final lap, which is why the 7th place there is missing. But so is Pastore there in that 5th place was obviously the highest ranked drivers who were here at the simulators today.
Yeah, it helps sitting in your own rig. I totally get that, but I would still not trade that for the experience being on a live event and racing there. Still a great race for everyone involved. There we see last car now crossing the line very, very soon. Oh, we're not on board with Giuseppe. I'm pretty sure about that in terms of the car. That's Rune that we see here with. Oh, it's a livery by Angelo Alfaro, actually, the red one here, the one that reminded me a bit of Team Redline. I don't know if they by now won the 24 Hours of Le Mans Virtual with car number 2. Maybe someone can just race there. No one checked? No? All right, never mind then. But we know that it is happening and it's finished by now. Obviously, everyone watches this. Makes way more sense than watching a long race that goes on for hours. But Rune tries to finish coming up now. Bit of a wiggle there. I think he has damage. If I look at the steering wheel and him trying to get it across the line, but he did so. And with that, all of our drivers are finally back home.
And of course, if you liked any of those liveries, you can go onto the social medias on Facebook and Instagram to vote for your favorite livery. And the livery with the most votes, the designer, will get a set of the Sprint Heusinkveld pedals as well, which is a nice prize, not only for of course the race winners, but the livery designers too.
Plus the base plate, actually, because he has to put his feet somewhere.
Absolutely.
Don't forget about that. I saw someone he ordered and then realized I don't even have anything to put my feet into. So a base plate is quite nice. So livery creator will also get that. We thought about everything. Want to make sure that they can use the product right away to get going. Beautiful shot of the Maastricht track, which you can obviously download for our Factor. And we will actually turn around and I will take this one with me because I want to show off what was actually up for grabs. And if you ever wondered, can we have that on camera? We will get that on camera, great. If you ever wondered, like all the cool names that you hear in sim racing, like AMG Petronas Esports Team, Williams Esports, Team Redline, what do they use? They use this. It even says it on the box. I confirmed it now for you. So get this, take part maybe next year when there's a competition again. I will put that away. Don't worry, I will not take it with me. Not like that. There we go. What a race, Cameron.
Yeah, great race for those drivers. Of course, Darius Andre just having so much control at the front of the race there. And as you say, that's certainly an advantage to having your own rig. And maybe he can do some upgrade to his pedals and be even faster, and maybe come back next year and try and win another set.
So yesterday we saw like the pros. We had Jarno Opmeer here that was racing, right? And Risto Capit, a big name in the R-Factor world. I love that on events like these there are races for you and me. Don't want to take away from your skill, but it's like everyone can take part. Get over here, go to Sim Formula Europe, try out the different rigs, come down and take part in the hot lap competitions. Maybe you find yourselves in the next race in 2024 here competing for a new pedal set and for actually a lot of fun and a great experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And this industry is only getting bigger. As you see, there's so many companies here selling their products. There's so many different types of products as well. It's not just about the frames, it's also about the wheels and the pedals and everything that comes with that. So that is definitely something that you need to sort of look into if you want to sort of increase your experience with sim racing.
Maybe we should talk to someone instead of always just us talking about the experience. Let me look up who's here. Who do you want to talk to? Choose someone. There's a list. This is not the Chinese order list that we had yesterday on the desk. Yes. This is actually information. Choose someone.
Well, I mean, let's speak to Rune right next to us.
Yeah, take the microphone, go over to Rune. Let's get him out of the rig. Oh, wait, I closed it and I forgot the number. There we go.
So Rune, this was of course like one of your first races on our Factor platform. Yes. How was it sort of transitioning to sort of a setup that you didn't really know?
It was a little difficult to make the setup work, but overall I'm really happy that I can qualify for the race. So yeah, it was fun.
And of course, in the end, you end up finishing the race as well, albeit. So not maybe as close to the front as you would have wanted, but are you going to sort of continue that experience and maybe sort of further your driving time on R-Factor?
Yeah, I've learned a lot today, dus I go work on it, and maybe next year I'm back to maybe win or be second or on the podium maybe. We will see.
Well, yeah, thank you, and we'll see. One of the other drivers, have you got someone else?
I was just running around and actually hearing from Race Control, there is Andrew who won. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have a clutch pedal. Now he has one because he got a free pedal set.
Absolutely.
That's quite nice. Mm-hmm. It's like, clutch is, if you're now wondering that, wait, all of these cars normally use no clutch at all because sequential gear shift, it is kind of nice because in some of the corners when the momentum of the engine drops too much, coming out of the corner, you basically press the clutch real quick to let the engine rev up, clutch back in again to get more momentum out of the corner. There's so many little nice tips that you can have, actually.
Absolutely, and also fuel saving as well can be
True, yeah.
endurance racing, 24-hour races when you want to save
Never
fuel.
happened to me running out of fuel in a race, never,
Oh,
really.
I bet it hasn't.
On the last lap.
But but clutching can also save that, and the clutch is obviously simulated in all the simulations that we use. So you can actually do the race start. If it's a standing start, you can do the race start with it and get a bit of feel from that too.
So we should also talk to someone from the other side. So I'll let you choose once again.
Go for it.
In my magic book, who do you want to talk to?
Well, I think we should speak to, it was Giuseppe, wasn't it? Because he was the highest
Let's go,
driver
let's
here.
go. That's fine with you. It's like, that's how it looks, by the way. If you ever wondered how it looks, this is not my handwriting, because if I would have written that, you wouldn't read anything. Not even a single letter. Tell you that. Whose handwriting was that, though? Was that yours?
Yes,
Diana?
that's my terrible
Really?
handwriting, don't you worry.
This is all you can come up with to help us? Really?
Mind if I ask you a couple of questions? So, in the end, you were the highest finishing driver who was here today. How sort of was this compared to your simulator at home?
Oh, I had much fun. It's quite different. The brakes, we need to get used to it, as well as the direct drive. But I had so much fun. I was very nervous to race here with you. And I hope to be here the next year again or something. Let's hope we get qualified again.
Absolutely. And how did your race go today? Did you make any mistakes? Did you go into the wall a few times?
I didn't go. I didn't touch the wall actually, but I got a bit unlucky at the start because an incident was in front of us, so we need to back up. But I think the four in front of me was too fast. Yeah, they were at home. I think this was an advantage, but I don't think even. I don't think if I was at home I could beat some. So I think it was a good race for me. I didn't touch the wall, so I'm happy. I had so much fun with you, and again, let's hope to be here again next year.
Absolutely. So well done for a good race today.
All right. As I can already see in the background, it gets kind of dark because it's late in the day. I will now put myself right in front of this. I think that's a beautiful... the camera guy is not pointing in the right direction. We see that here. No problem at all. But it is the end for us, Cameron, here from the Hot Lap competition. In this case, the Heusinkveld Peregrine race that we had yesterday. We're already at the big grand finale. If you missed that, you can still watch that over on YouTube. Obviously, make sure to follow Sim Formula Europe on the social channels. Be informed about absolutely everything. Take part in the vote for our livery creators, because they do an amazing job. That takes hours and hours and hours to create these cars and let them look good. They work for all the big racing teams out there in terms of sim and making their cars look good during the race. But if you're not here just yet and you can't make it today, then at least mark in your calendar for next year, Sim Formula Europe in Maastricht here in the MAC. It's definitely worth it. Anything else you want to end the day with, Cameron?
Well, absolutely, just sort of get involved in sim racing as well. It's an ever-growing community of drivers. There's so many leagues out there on all the different simulators, and of course we're here to promote loads of different brands as well. So do get yourself involved in that, and maybe one day you'll be here racing as well.
And that one day could be very, very soon. All right, that's it for us. My name is Rene, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.